What's up, friends? It's me, Raj, and I'm back with a new Raj's Reviews. Today we're going to be checking out a brand new Netflix show called Clickbait. So Clickbait is a show that just came out in 2021. There currently is only one season out now with 8 episodes total. So essentially, Clickbait follows the mystery behind the kidnapping of a family man, a man who's essentially dedicated to his family, who most people would consider to be a nice person. A video appears, however, after this man is kidnapped that claims that he harassed women, killed somebody, and that he needs to pay for his actions. The video also comes with a warning that claims that after it reaches 5 million views, the man will be executed. So this sets off a race as detectives, family members, race to find out where this man is, what's happening to him, if any of it is true, and why. Why is this all occurring? That race is one you most likely are going to want to be a part of. So starting off with if this show is engaging or not, it is very engaging, but in a unique way. So this show is very fast-paced. Things move at a very breakneck speed. Clues are uncovered and they lead to more information that leads to more information. Characters learn information over time very rapidly. And this mystery kind of evolves over time. There's so many twists and turns and unique things that help to make the mystery, 1, even more interesting, and 2, even more complicated. Just when you think you might have an answer, it flips another direction. Just when you think a clue might have uncovered the key to everything, it turns out the clue's not as useful as you'd think, so on and so forth. There's a lot of twists and turns that really help to keep the show engaging and interesting through its 8-episode runtime. Beyond that, it's so fast-paced that there's never really going to be a time when you're gonna 1, want to put it down, or 2, never really going to be a time when you're going to be bored or uninterested. It is a relatively short runtime with 8 episodes. I think it's about a total of 6 hours or so. It's pretty quick for a TV show, and it'll keep you hooked all the way through. Clickbait also has fantastic cliffhangers. I mean, that's another thing that really helps to make it seem much shorter, is that once an episode ends, you're gonna want to watch at least the beginning of the next one, because almost every episode ends with a crazy cliffhanger that rather reveals new information or just makes you want to learn more about the mystery, makes you want to explore more of this world, this incident and what's occurring, and ultimately find out why this is all happening. Add to that relatively well-built characters who are realistic. They act realistically based on the information that is presented. The acting is pretty well done, and so this helps to add another level of engagement that makes you feel like, 1, you're a part of this mystery, and 2, it really makes you feel like you're there with the characters, learning about these clues as things go on, and keeps you very hooked. Characters are also very normal in terms of that no one character kind of dominates the investigation. There's not one character just out there finding all the clues. It's very realistic as investigators do majority of the investigation. Characters weigh in with insights about clues and stuff like that, but it's relatively realistic. In regards to what's unique about this show, I think one thing I have to mention right off the bat is the structure of this show. So each episode in this show, all 8 episodes, essentially focus on a different character and their interaction with this mystery. So what I mean by that is, throughout all 8 episodes, it's the same mystery, right? It's the same investigation, and as each episode progresses, you learn more and more about what's happening, about how this investigation is going down. But each episode itself focuses on a different character, either characters who are related to the man who's kidnapped, characters who are heavily involved in the investigation, characters who play a part in the unraveling of this mystery and unraveling of what exactly happened to this man. Each episode offers insights from a different character, and in my opinion, that is brilliant. It really helps to keep the plot and keep the story very engaging and fresh, as each episode's a new perspective. Each episode feels like you're following someone else, but you're still following the same case, so you're still very interested. However, you get a new look from a different character. Some scenes you'll watch with one character, and then the next episode you'll watch a different perspective from another character, which helps you understand how characters acted the way they did, which helps you understand why characters did the things they did. Now, I will warn you, if you are very interested in the mystery of this whole situation, about not having anything spoiled, I wouldn't necessarily recommend looking at all the titles for each episode before you watch the show. I'd recommend just clicking play and watch what happens. Because if you read through each and every title, you might have a little bit of clues as to what's going to go down. It's not like spoilers or anything, but just a quick warning, you know, avoid the titles of each episode if you really want to be surprised every episode. The mystery of Clickbait is relatively illogical. I will point that out. I mean, some of the plot points don't necessarily connect. There's a couple of small plot holes here and there. It's not anything that would bring down the investigation or make you completely disengaged with the whole mystery altogether. But, you know, it's relatively illogical in that how things go down aren't necessarily how they would fully go down in real life. But that's fine, because there's more than enough insights as to what some dangers occur that, you know, you could learn from and you could prevent in your own life. So all in all, I give Clickbait a 3 out of 4, as in worth checking out, especially if you have the time. If you're interested in thriller mysteries, if you're interested in dramas that focus on the lives of multiple people as an investigation goes down, if you're interested in social media and a mystery involving social media and online presence, if you're interested in a fast-paced mystery show that will keep you hooked all the way through and is definitely a show you're going to want to binge, this is definitely the show for you. Let me know in the comments below if you did check out Clickbait and what you thought about it, if you liked it or not, if you agree with my review or not. Also, like and subscribe if you like this content. And now we'll be moving on to the Parents Guide. So Clickbait is rated TV MA. So starting with violence, I give this show a 3 out of 5. There's really not too much violence. I mean, even though the situation is violent in nature and seemingly will include a lot of violence, this show surprisingly is not that violent, which is surprising considering the content and what this show is about. A lot of the violence is in the video that goes viral, as I mentioned before, the video that showcases the man confessing, essentially, or being forced to confess to his wrongdoings and so on. That video is relatively violent in that the man has some blood on his face and it's clear to tell he's not in good shape. There's also a scene where characters torture somebody else. It's not super violent and it's not really hardcore torture, it's more them hitting the character for answers and so on and so forth. So it's not too bad and it's not necessarily scarring, but it is there. There's also a scene at the end that is relatively violent in nature, and you don't necessarily see what happens, but you hear it most definitely, and that can be relatively graphic and disturbing. It can be pretty graphic, so if violence is not your thing, this might not be the perfect show for you. Again, there's not too much of it in here, so if you can handle a little bit of violence, it should be fine, but you know, it is there. Moving on to sexual content, I give this show a 3 out of 5. There's one scene where a woman briefly masturbates. It's only 3 to 5 seconds, but it is there and it's pretty obvious to tell what she's doing. There's also a scene where characters investigate another character's internet history and they discuss what they see, including references to porn and sexual content. Again, this is relatively brief and the scene moves on pretty quickly, but nonetheless, it is there. There are also scenes in a flashback where characters have sex, and it's relatively brief and not too graphic. There's no nudity or anything like that. It's more thematic. Finally, there's scenes where characters make out, but these scenes are both flashbacks and they're relatively brief and not too graphic. Now finally, in terms of language, I give this show a 4 out of 5. There is a good amount of language in this show. Primarily, they use the F word quite frequently. Now, given the circumstance and the situation they're going through, it's not necessarily, I don't blame them. There are a lot of F words in the show. There's also a lot of S words and D words. So if language is not your thing, this is definitely not the show for you. So all in all, I would say this is definitely not a show for younger audiences. One, the language itself is a little bit too rough for younger audiences, but in addition to that, the content in this show is pretty graphic, and not necessarily in terms of what you see, but more as to what each of these situations implies and the nature of this whole investigation. I mean, it is a crime, right? And it is a relatively dark crime. It's a man, a family man, being accused of pretty horrific things. And so the nature of that situation lends itself to some pretty dark discussions and situations that definitely would not be suitable for younger audiences. Nevertheless, I recommend checking out Clickbait if you're older and if you're interested in a very fast-paced mystery thriller. And until next time, I'll Nevertheless, I recommend checking out Clickbait if you're older and if you're interested in very breakneck speed, fast-paced mystery that has more than enough twists and turns and pretty well-built characters. I recommend checking Clickbait out. Until next time, I'll catch y'all later.